Dear guests, both
Mėly svečiai, čia
is that there are 2,500 people attending here, so a great big welcome to all of you. And also a great big thank you to the organizers of this fantastic event. And I also will thank the interpreters who are doing, I think, a very good job and have incredible stamina for sitting there for hours on end to translate all of this. It is really fantastic to be here in Vilnius. It is for me really very uplifting to be here at this forum, not just because of the great content that's being spoken about here, but also because this is my very first time in Vilnius, in Lithuania, and even in the Baltics. I'm a very well-traveled guy, I guarantee you, but I've never made it up here, so it's really awesome. And I hope next time, Christina, that you do it at a time of the year when it's a little warmer. That would be my request. The topic of the forum this year is a very important one that affects all of us, namely peace for food. Today, I will talk a little bit about why that is important in the context of food systems. Our food system, as you all know probably, is currently at risk. It is unsustainable and harmful to both people and the planet. Over the past few years, we have faced a number of significant crises, and these are only going to get more and more frequent if we do not build resilience into our food system. The COVID-19 pandemic, the Russian war against Ukraine, and the climate crisis, the complexity of those challenges is not something we can ignore. There is no one solution to any of them. However, there are things we can do to build resilience into our food system and better ensure food security in the long term. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the growing risk of EU overdependency on global supply chains for key goods and services produced by third countries. The pandemic has a profound and lagging impact on our food systems. At EIT Food, we were able to prevent more disastrous consequences by providing a rapid response initiative to fund high-impact innovation activities, and we also provided a bridge fund to startups, which supported those startups that are impacted by the crisis, those of whom we thought that they would have a very big impact in the future, and we wanted to make sure that they don't disappear from the face of the earth. I believe that having the ability to provide rapid and targeted financial support at times of need is truly vital in enabling us to foster innovation and to overcome all those challenges together. The war in Ukraine threatens food security at a global level, as well as exposes drivers of fragility for the European agri-food sector, such as our dependency on imported food, fossil fuels, fertilizers, and animal feed from the region. Ukraine is in our hearts, but it is also in our minds. And the war against Ukraine shows us that conflict is not just something that happens somewhere else. We are working hard, and I know a lot of you in this room are working incredibly hard to help out our Ukrainian brothers and sisters and to also ensure our food systems are able to cope with the impact. We not only need to deal with this in the here and now, but we also need to work hard to build resilience in the long term. One of our EIT Food partners, Art21, are here today, and Augustas Alisiunas, the CEO, will be speaking to you later this morning. In May, Augustas from Art21 announced over 1 million euros of high-tech services to help rebuild and modernize Ukraine's agri-food sector. This incredibly generous contribution to the future of the food system will have a significant impact as agriculture is a critical part of the Ukrainian economy, with 70% of the country dependent on for agricultural purposes. Support like this to rebuild, but also to modernize with the latest agri-tech innovations is really important to help both in the short term, but also in the long term, as I mentioned earlier. We also need to do everything in our power to reduce emissions of greenhouse gases and reverse the global warming trend. This is especially poignant at a moment as the UN annual climate conference, COP27, is currently taking place in Egypt. We have had an EIT food team at the COP27 this year, co-hosting the first ever food pavilion at the conference, and this is very significant. We have seen a shift in dialogue from the role of agriculture in emissions to the opportunities that food systems provide to help meet our ultimate climate goals. In other words, we're working very hard on changing the narrative from all the negativity to the positivity of what's possible with an improved food system. So, what can we do? We urgently need to increase sustainability for the future, but we also urgently need to build resilience into the system to enable us to respond to the many serious challenges we are facing now, as I mentioned earlier. We need to invest in key innovations and solutions, as well as support a just transition for all to a net zero food system. Increasing the sustainability of our food systems is not something that anyone can do alone. To meet the targets set by the European Green Deal, as well as the associate farm-to-food strategy, we need to increase the scale and speed of transformation of European agriculture, fostering the adoption of climate-smart agricultural practices and solutions. This will require us to work with all stakeholders to understand the barriers to adoption and scaling, and to co-create solutions which promote a just transition. This process will increase sustainability. However, during the transition, our food systems remain susceptible to disruptive events. At EIT Food, we believe in inclusive systems innovation, connecting the dots and moving beyond the traditional linear food chain model means we can better deploy system approaches where challenges are no longer tackled in isolation and collaboration finally becomes the norm. So, as well as working together, we need to really listen to each other, provide opportunities for collaboration, and consider how our decisions may impact others. But inclusive systems innovation relies on having a diverse mix of people, and this is also an area of challenge for food systems. As an example, agriculture has an aging population. Only 11% of all farm holdings in the European Union are run by farmers under 40. And persuading more young people to begin farming is a significant challenge. We know we need to attract more young people to the sector, but we need to make this attractive to them. Incentivization schemes such as income support, rural development funds, and reformed common agricultural policy go some of the way to helping young farmers to get their businesses off the ground. But these help those who are already invested in a career in farming. So I think there's a lot more to be done to provide a much more diverse group of young people to get into farming. The good news is at EIT Food, we did a survey of across 20,000 people of Generation Z. Those are folks that are between 16 and 24 years of age. And we found that 60% of those we surveyed actually cared about the food system and want to make contribution to it. So maybe there is a generation there that's happy to pick up from the previous generations. But importantly, we also need to address the gender imbalance in the food sector. In entry-level positions in the industry, about 60% of all employees are women. But by the time we get to the top, this drops to between 9 and 25%, depending on which part of the food value chain you're looking at. That is not enough. The number of women creating businesses in the agri-food sector is far too low, and we need to change this by supporting women throughout their career. In Lithuania, over the last 2 years, we have been directly supporting female entrepreneurship who are producing whole-cut meat alternatives. And by the way, the previous speaker was saying artificial. I think that's not necessarily artificial, it's plant-based, which is a different way to put it together to make it look and feel like the product originally made by other traditional methods. Albert Einstein famously said, in the midst of every crisis lies great opportunity, and I think many of the speakers previously have talked about it as well. I truly believe, that innovation is what will save us. It's absolutely vital for building a sustainable, resilient food system to help us to cope better with the short-term crisis we are suffering and the long-term impacts from climate change. And I'm pleased to say innovation is not resting on its laurels, but it is actually delivering. For instance, we're seeing growth in innovative products and techniques in areas such as precision farming. Technologies such as these are efficient and often scalable, making it possible to reduce emissions and enhance production. Artificial intelligence-based forecasting technologies are helping us to create better growing environments, reducing production loss in the field, and are increasingly contributing to solving the problem of food waste. For example, we have a company, a startup in our Rising Food Stars called Deep Planet, which does analysis of images from satellites. An AI system that helps farmers understand where they have to irrigate at what time of the year, and also if there's any problems with the crop in terms of pests coming on. Farming itself will become increasingly more high-tech, and with increased autonomous technologies available, we're likely to see a big move towards a new wave of farming in the future. For this, we need to invest in much more training, look at new ways of financing to ensure a just transition for farmers, and address challenges posed by the current legal frameworks in Europe. At EIT Food, we see regenerative agriculture as a real growth area. There has been a lot of discussion about it at COP27 over the past 2 weeks. And innovation has a role to play in this. For instance, to provide solutions to efficiently move feedstock around farms, to monitor to monitor soil health profiles, and to find ways of measuring and reporting carbon capture for carbon payment schemes, which also have been mentioned a little bit earlier. Carbon positive farming has great potential, and all the signs are that it will become an additional financial source of income for farmers. This will make the agri-food and forestry sector the first climate-neutral sector in industry. However, this also needs to be properly financed, as I just mentioned, as there are big barriers to adoption due to high setup costs. Consumers are also seeing a greater number of innovative food products on the shelves than ever. The Good Food industry, a partner of ours, recently reported that sustainable protein companies across Europe raised more than 2.2 billion euros through 2021. This is 5 times the amount raised compared to the previous year, with plant-based raising the biggest amount of capital. At EIT Food, we very much believe in leveraging the expertise of our community to empower startups to create impact, and we excel at this. The proof is in the pudding, as always. In 2021 alone, we supported over 150 agri-food tech startups in their journey, from early entrepreneurs to companies supported to scale internationally. And these startups themselves, they attracted 412 million euros of external investment, and they created over 650 jobs. Just for comparison, we have KPIs, and the KPI we had set for ourselves and agreed with the European Union is to achieve 50 million euros of external capital attracted. So we really hit it out of the ballpark with a factor of 8 in 2021. The more we understand about the needs of agri-food tech startups and the rapidly changing market conditions we are now seeing, the more we're able to evolve the support we provide. For instance, We know that raising seed capital has become more and more difficult these days, and this is a real pressure point for many of our startups. At a time when we need to urgently and rapidly scale those new technologies I mentioned and the business models, we at EIT Food have increased our support for this. We need to continue to invest, to scale up and speed up innovation, to get more products to market and to better understand and overcome barriers to their adoption. So what does the future hold for us then? In order to address the large and extensive challenges the European food system currently faces, and to meet the ambitious goals of the European Green Deal and the associated farm-to-fork strategy, we need to find a new way of working. We need a systems approach, and we need to work together on this. At EIT Food, we're working with stakeholders across the food system to create and support innovative solutions that reduce the impact of food systems on climate change and the environment, and increase the resilience and autonomy of the agri-food sector. Our EIT Food hub, AgriFood Lithuania, is a perfect example of the power of networking and collaboration. The great work that they're doing here and in organizing this very forum today is key to address the challenges that we have to face as Europe in terms of food security and sustainability of the food value chain in this time of crisis. So I came here to talk to you today about peace for food. We have spoken a lot about crisis, but the message I will leave you with is one of peace. Each and every one of us is integral to this mission. We need your brains, we need your skills, and we need your commitment. I believe in our collective capacity to make a real difference, and I know this is how we will ensure a healthy and sustainable food system, not just now, but also longer term into the future. And I'm here to provide you with a challenge. Make the most of your time on this planet of ours. Do something your children, your grandchildren, and their children will be proud of. I'm calling on all of you today to focus your collective efforts on what you can do to make the agri-food sector more sustainable and resilient for all of us. Thank you very much.